Hey y'all, I got a little story to tell you today I think you'll like, especially y'all manual guys. Had a little incident with this truck this week. I'll give you a little timeline. Well, about 6 days ago, took the truck out for a drive, and I felt like, I'm having to shift, or having to push the clutch pedal further down than normal to shift. But at the end of the day, everything drove fine, and I kind of said, yeah, it's all in my head. Now, next day, come out, take the truck on a drive again. This time, there was even a few cases where, I kind of grinded some gears a little bit going between gears, and I thought to myself, wow, I must be really getting weak with my leg or something, not pushing this clutch pedal. I figured I just had to be more disciplined about making sure I pushed the clutch further down. And when I pushed it all the way to the floor, it drove A-OK, and I'm like, I guess that's how I've always been driving it. And, well, I let the truck sit for a day, and then went out to drive it again. And that's when we had a little incident. Let me explain what the issue was and go inside. So, here's what it was doing. Let's come down to the pedal first. So this is fixed right now. There's a little bit of travel there with not much force. But before, it would travel probably to the halfway point before it really developed any force. And you didn't really get real firm until the last about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Maybe last inch or so. Well, that's definitely a big change. My clutch was disengaging barely off of the floor, whereas now that it's fixed, it disengages roughly in the middle of the press. So that was what was going on down underneath. Now I did inspect up in here and looked at the master cylinder, and it was okay. I didn't see anything leaking off of there. So that was my first glance. And I did get underneath and looked at the slave cylinder, and I didn't see anything leaking off of there either. And I'll go under there and show you that also. So as for the shifts, worth mentioning, with the truck off, you had no problems going into gear. Goes into all the gears very easily. Now, when I fired up the truck, I was trying to get it in the second. I was jamming, or I was just trying. Wasn't really manhandling too much. And finally, I was able to really yank it into gear. Took me like 8 or 9 tries. So here we are, driving out the driveway. And I get out onto the road. Here we are, headed to third gear. And a couple hesitations before it would really go in. And I'm like, oh, yeah, something is up right now. Then driving a little bit more, going into fourth. Now, fourth was fine, but you could tell the clutch was kind of still engaged. Like as soon as you hit fourth gear and not hardly at all release the pedal, you could feel the grab. And so I'm like, wow, I don't think my clutch is disengaging right. So I knew something was up. And I wasn't sure what it was because the master cylinder and slave cylinder both looked okay. But the culprit in the end was the slave cylinder. So let me go underneath and check that out. Okay, here we are underneath on the driver's side of the truck. This line right here, you can see that braided steel. That's our hydraulics, goes up to the master cylinder. And our slave cylinder is right here. And this is the new one. And when I came under here, I didn't see any leaks at all on this. But it actually was leaking inside of here and potentially around this area. But it was being absorbed as soon as it would leak. It was being absorbed by clutch dust in there. So it was really doing a good job to hide the leak, but it really was leaking, and it ended up being the culprit here. So if y'all are having problems like this with your clutch pedal or have symptoms like I just described, I would guess that this may be the culprit, probably. So that may be all I have for you in this one. I'm not sure that I have anything else to say, but if I remember, I'll do another clip. Anyways, y'all have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.